If you want to watch super hit movie How the Grinch Stole Christmas in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, friends. In today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called How the Grinch Stole Christmas. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it, all the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I'm also going to give you all the information on which platform or on which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie. Also, we will talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production, film and post-production, budget, box office collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film. I request you, friends, to watch this video till the end, and so let's start the video. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, also known as Dr. Seuss' How the Grinch Stole Christmas, or Dr. Seuss's The Grinch, or simply The Grinch, is a 2000 American Christmas fantasy comedy film directed by Ron Howard and produced by Howard and Brian Grazer. Written by Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman, the film was adapted from Dr. Seuss's 1957 children's book of the same name. This marked the first Dr. Seuss book to be adapted into a full-length feature film and one of only 2 live-action adaptations, the other being The Cat in the Hat, 2003. It is the second adaptation of the book, following the 1966 animated TV special. Narrated by Anthony Hopkins, the film stars Jim Carrey as the eponymous character, with Taylor Momsen, Jeffrey Tambor, Christine Baranski, Bill Irwin, and Molly Shannon in supporting roles. The story revolves around the Grinch, a grumpy green recluse living on Mount Crumpet who despises Christmas and the joyful residents of Whoville and sets out to sabotage their holiday celebration. How the Grinch Stole Christmas was released on November 17, 2000 by Universal Pictures. The film received mixed reviews from critics upon release, with praise for Carrey's portrayal and the film's visual effects, while its dark humor and tone were criticized. It emerged as a major commercial success at the box office, grossing $346 million worldwide and spending 4 weeks as the top film in the U.S. It became the highest-grossing film of 2000 domestically and the 6th highest-grossing film of 2000, in addition to becoming the 2nd highest-grossing holiday film of all time, behind Home Alone 1990, until it was surpassed by the 2018 animated version of The Grinch. At the 73rd Academy Awards, How the Grinch Stole Christmas won Best Makeup and Hairstyling, in addition to earning nominations for Best Production Design and Best Costume Design. Carrey's performance earned him a nomination for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. Plot: as the Whos of Whoville prepare for their beloved Christmas celebrations, the Grinch, a bitter and misanthropic green creature who resides in a cave on Mount Crumpet, despises the holiday and plans to ruin it. 6-year-old Cindy Lou Who, disillusioned by the town's obsession with the materialistic aspects of Christmas, has a chance encounter with the Grinch at the Whoville post office, where she is saved by him after falling into a mail sorting machine. Curious about the Grinch's hatred for Christmas, Cindy learns from the townspeople that he was abandoned as a baby and adopted by 2 elderly sisters in Whoville. While in school, the Grinch developed a crush on Martha May Whovier, a classmate, but was bullied by Augustus Mayhew, who mocked the Grinch for his hairy appearance. In an attempt to impress Martha, the Grinch tried to shave his face, but ended up cutting himself. When his classmates ridiculed him during a Christmas celebration, the humiliated young Grinch fled to Mount Crumpet, vowing never to return. Determined to include the Grinch in the Christmas festivities, Cindy nominates him as the town's holiday cheermeister, much to the dismay of the now mayor Augustus Mayhew. Reluctantly, the Grinch agrees to attend, seeing an opportunity to confront his childhood tormentor and potentially reunite with Martha. At the award ceremony, the Grinch participates in various events and starts to enjoy himself. However, his mood changes when Mayhew gives him an electric razor as a cruel reminder of his traumatic past. To further humiliate the Grinch, Mayhew proposes to Martha in front of everyone, offering her a new car as an engagement gift. Furious, the Grinch lashes out at the Whos, accusing them of valuing Christmas only for its materialism. He then shaves the mayor's head, sets the town's Christmas tree on fire, and goes on a destructive rampage before retreating back to his cave on Mount Crumpet. Learning that the Who's still plan to celebrate Christmas with a spare tree and unshaken spirits, the Grinch hatches a plan to steal all their presents, decorations, and food while they sleep, determined to ruin the holiday once and for all. Disguising himself as Santa Claus and dressing his dog Max as a reindeer, the Grinch descends into Whoville on a high-tech sleigh. He starts by sneaking into Cindy Lou Who's house. When Cindy catches him stealing their Christmas tree, he lies, pretending to be Santa, taking the tree for repairs, and escapes. Methodically, he strips the entire town of its Christmas joy, stuffing everything into a giant sack and driving it to the top of Mount Crumpet, intending to destroy it all. On Christmas morning, the Who's wake up to discover the theft, and the town is devastated. Mayor May, who accuses Cindy for giving the Grinch the opportunity to ruin their holiday, but her father, Postmaster Lulu, who defends her, reminding the town that Christmas is about more than just gifts and decorations. It's about love and kindness. Inspired by his words, the Who's come together, join hands, and begin singing Christmas carols, showing that their spirit remains unbroken. As the Grinch prepares to push the massive sack off the mountain, he hears the Who's singing below and realizes that his plan has failed. Struck by the true meaning of Christmas, the Grinch's heart grows 3 sizes, and he is overcome with emotion. Just then, the sleigh, along with Cindy Lou Who had climbed aboard, begins to slip over the edge of the cliff. In a moment of heroism, the Grinch saves both Cindy and the sleigh, returning all the stolen Christmas goods to the town. Back in Whoville, the Grinch apologizes and surrenders to the authorities, who pardon him despite Mayhew's demands for his arrest. Fed up with Mayhew's selfishness, Martha May returns his engagement ring and professes her love for the Grinch. In the end, the reformed Grinch invites the Who's to celebrate Christmas in his cave, where he personally carves the roast beast at the feast, now embraced as a part of the Whoville community. Cast Jim Carrey as the Grinch, a bad-tempered, devious, and misanthropic green-furred creature who despises the Christmas and the Who's of Whoville celebrations. Carrey accepted the lead role when he heard a tape of a kids' choir singing the song "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." Before Carrey was cast as the Grinch, Jack Nicholson, Eddie Murphy, and Adam Sandler were considered. Josh Ryan Evans as the 8-year-old Grinch, in his final film role before his death in 2002. Taylor Momsen as Cindy Lou Who. In the film, she is 6 years old, while in the 1957 book and the 1966 TV special, she is no more than 2. Jeffrey Tambor as Mayor Augustus May Who. Whoville's corrupt, judgmental, pompous, rude, and greedy mayor who was also the Grinch's childhood bully. Ben Bookbinder as 8-year-old Augustus, who bullies Grinch as an attempt to get Martha to notice him instead. Christine Baranski as Martha May Ovier, who, the Grinch's childhood crush. Mayor Augustus May, who also has feelings for her, but Martha does not like him because of his arrogance. Landry Albright as 8-year-old Martha, who shows affection for the Grinch and dislikes when kids at school pick on him. Bill Irwin as Lulu Who, Betty's husband and Cindy, Drew and Stu's father. Molly Shannon as Betty Lou Who, Lou's wife and Cindy, Stu and Drew's mother. Anthony Hopkins as the narrator. Hopkins recorded the entire narration for the film in a single day. Kelly as Max, the Grinch's pet dog and best friend. To play Max, 6 dogs in total were used. The main among them was a dog named Kelly who was rescued from a pound by Ron Howard. The other dogs had their hair cut and dyed to resemble Kelly. Frank Welker performs the vocal effects for Max. Welker had previously provided the vocal effects for Max in The Grinch's The Cat in the Hat. Clint Howard as Briz Who, the mayor's sycophantic aide and servant. Reed Kirchenbauer as 8-year-old Briz Who. Mindy Sterling as Claire Nella Who, one of the Grinch's 2 adoptive mothers. Rachel Winfrey as Rose Who, one of the Grinch's 2 adoptive mothers. Jeremy Howard as Drew Lou Who, one of the mischievous sons of Lou and Betty, twin brother of Stu and older brother of Cindy. TJ Thine as Stu Lou Who, the other mischievous son, twin brother of Drew and older brother of Cindy. Jim Meskimen as Officer Lehan, who the chief of police. Mary Stein as Miss Rue, who the Grinch's school teacher who later becomes Cindy's teacher. Deep Roy as post officer clerk. Rance Howard as elderly timekeeper. Vern Troyer as band member. Bryce Howard as surprised Who. Production development. Before his death in 1991, Dr. Seuss consistently declined offers to sell the film rights to his books. However, following his passing, his widow, Audrey Geisel, began entertaining several merchandising deals, including clothing lines, accessories, and CDs. In July 1998, her agents made a significant announcement. The film rights to How the Grinch Stole Christmas would be auctioned. The terms were stringent. Suitors had to be willing to pay $5 million up front, 4% of the box office gross, 50% of merchandising revenue, 70% of book tie-in profits, and music-related income. In addition, any actor considered for the role of the Grinch had to be of a similar stature to Adam Sandler or Jim Carrey. Only directors or writers who had previously earned at least $1 million on a previous project were eligible to participate. Several studios and filmmakers pitched their vision for the live-action Grinch. 20th Century Fox, with director Tom Shadyac and producers Dave Phillips and John Davis, pitched their version with Jack Nicholson in mind for the Grinch. 13. The Farrelly brothers and John Hughes also submitted their own versions. Universal Pictures, represented by Brian Grazer and Gary Ross, also made a presentation, but all offers were initially rejected by Geisel. Grazer, however, enlisted his producing partner, Ron Howard, to join negotiations. Though Howard was initially uninterested in a live-action Grinch and was focused on adapting The Seawolf, Grazer convinced him to visit Geisel for a pitch. While reviewing the book, Howard became intrigued by Cindy Lou Who's character and developed a vision for a film with an expanded role for her, a deeper portrayal of the Who's, and a more fleshed-out backstory for the Grinch. In September 1998, Howard officially signed on to direct and co-produce the film, with Jim Carrey cast as the Grinch. It was later revealed that Universal Pictures paid $9 million for the rights to How the Grinch Stole Christmas and Oh, the Places You'll Go. Before Howard's involvement, Tim Burton was approached to direct, but turned down the offer due to a scheduling conflict with Sleepy Hollow. The final screenplay, written by Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman, known for Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Doc Hollywood, underwent 8 drafts before reaching a final version. Audrey Geisel had significant control over the script, vetoing several jokes she found inappropriate, including one about a family called the Whosteens, who lacked a Christmas tree and presents. Additionally, she rejected the inclusion of a stuffed trophy of the Cat in the Hat on the Grinch's wall. Alec Berg, David Mandel, and Jeff Schaffer, writers from Seinfeld, contributed to an uncredited rewrite. Filming and makeup. Principal photography for How the Grinch Stole Christmas took place from September 1999 to January 2000. Audrey Geisel, Dr. Seuss's widow, visited the set in October 1999. The majority of the Whoville set was constructed on the Universal Studios backlot, located behind the iconic Bates Motel set from Psycho, 1960. Rick Baker, the renowned makeup artist, was responsible for designing and creating the prosthetic makeup for Jim Carrey and the rest of the cast. After several tests, Carrey was impressed by a photo of Baker's first makeup test, leading to the decision to use Baker's initial design. The Grinch costume was made of yak hair, dyed green, and sewn onto a spandex suit. The makeup application process for Carrey took up to 2.5 hours each day, and Carrey often compared wearing the costume to being buried alive. In his frustration, he once kicked a hole in the wall of his trailer. Kazuhiro, Carrey's makeup artist, recalled that Carrey was initially difficult to work with on set, often being irritable and disappearing during shoots. This led to significant production delays, with only 3 days' worth of footage being completed after 2 weeks of filming. Hiro eventually left the production, but after discussions with Ron Howard and Baker, Carrey agreed to control his temper, and Hiro returned to the set. To help Carrey cope with the grueling makeup process, producer Brian Grazer hired a consultant to train him in methods for enduring torture. Josh Ryan Evans, who portrayed the 8-year-old Grinch, wore the same type of makeup and bodysuit as Carrey. Over the course of filming, Carrey spent 92 days in Grinch makeup and eventually became more comfortable with the process. Most of the makeup appliances used for the actors were connected to their upper lips, along with prosthetic noses, ears, dentures, and wigs. To keep Carrey's spirits up during production, Howard once donned a Grinch suit himself, and on another occasion he invited actor Don Knotts to the set, knowing Carrey was a fan of Knotts' work. Carrey also wore uncomfortable yellow contact lenses for his portrayal of the Grinch, but due to the discomfort, many scenes required post-production digital alterations to color his eyes. During one scene, where the Grinch is directing his dog, Max, Carrey improvised by mimicking Howard's directing style. Howard found the impression hilarious and decided to include the moment in the final cut of the film. Visual effects. The film's visual effects were provided by Digital Domain. Digital Domain crafted intricate CGI environments and characters, seamlessly integrating them with live-action elements to preserve the magical and whimsical atmosphere of Whoville. The team employed cutting-edge technology to enhance the film's fantastical setting, ensuring it aligned with Dr. Seuss' iconic illustrations. In addition to the visual effects, the movie relied heavily on practical effects and extensive makeup to transform Jim Carrey into the Grinch. This involved hours of makeup application, using pioneering techniques that allowed for flexibility in Carrey's facial expressions, enabling him to maintain his comedic timing and exaggerated movements despite the prosthetics' music. The soundtrack for the album was released on November 7, 2033. It features a collection of music performed by several artists, including Busta Rhymes, Faith Hill, Eels, Smash Mouth, and NSYNC. An expanded edition of the soundtrack featuring more cues from Horner's score was released on November 1, 2022, on La La Land Records. All song lengths via Apple Music Theatrical. How the Grinch Stole Christmas was theatrically released by Universal Pictures in the United States on November 17, 2000. Television. How the Grinch Stole Christmas premiered on television on ABC on November 25, 2004, and aired there until 2014, with the exception of 2009. From 2010 to 2014, it was paired with the animated television special, airing annually as part of ABC Family's 25 Days of Christmas, which later became Freeform's event. During its airings, additional deleted scenes were featured that were not part of the original theatrical, VHS, or DVD releases. These included extended sequences such as Cindy's dad maxing out his credit card on gifts, Cindy inquiring about the Grinch before school, Lou visiting Cindy after she stayed late at school, and extended Grinch scenes in his cave and at the Christmas party. Other added content involved Martha May and Betty Lou competing in the Christmas Lights contest, the Grinch trying on different outfits, and various moments showing the Who's preparing for Christmas. Since 2015, How the Grinch Stole Christmas has aired on NBC on Christmas night, typically following the animated television special. However, it did not air in 2022 due to an NFL game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Arizona Cardinals. In 2020, it aired on FX to promote the television premiere of the 2018 animated film of The Grinch. Marketing. In the summer of 2000, a trailer for How the Grinch Stole Christmas premiered in theaters, attached to screenings of Mission: Impossible 2. This was part of an agreement between Paramount Pictures and Universal Pictures, in which Paramount agreed to show the Grinch trailer in exchange for Universal screening a Paramount trailer in front of Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps. A second trailer debuted on October 6, 2000, along with the release of Meet the Parents. Simultaneously, Toys R Us launched a massive promotional campaign for the film, transforming their stores into Whobilation headquarters, with one of the most elaborate visual merchandising displays in the company's history. Stores featured floor-to-ceiling window graphics of the film's characters, and in some locations, 8-foot 3D Grinch-themed characters adorned the entrances. Wendy's also joined the promotion, offering kids' meal toys featuring the Grinch. 38. Additional promotional partners included Kellogg's, Nabisco, Hershey's, Visa, Coca-Cola, and United States Postal Service. To further coincide with the film's release, Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal's Islands of Adventure introduced Grinchmas, a holiday event that has since become an annual tradition at the theme parks. Home media. How the Grinch Stole Christmas was released on VHS and DVD on November 20, 2001. In its first week of release, it sold a combined total of 8.5 million home video units, including 3 million DVDs and 4 million VHS copies, making it the best-selling holiday home video title at that time. The film became one of only 4 titles, alongside Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace, Shrek and The Mummy Returns, to sell more than 2 million DVD copies during their opening weeks. It also achieved the distinction of being the second highest opening week home video sales for any live-action film, following Titanic. In December 2001, Variety reported that the film was the second biggest-selling home video release of the year, with 16.9 million copies sold and $296 million in revenue. A Blu-ray DVD combo pack was released on October 13, 2009, followed by a digitally remastered Blu-ray release on October 13, 2015. The film was also remastered in 4K and released on Ultra HD Blu-ray on October 17, 2017. Reception box office. How the Grinch Stole Christmas grossed $260 million domestically and $85.1 million in other territories, resulting in a worldwide gross of $345.1 million, making it the 6th highest grossing film of 2000. In the United States, the film debuted at number 1 on its opening day, earning $15.6 million. Over the weekend, it grossed $55.1 million, with an average of $17,615 from 3,127 theaters. At the time of its release, it held the 6th highest 3-day opening weekend of any film, trailing behind Toy Story 2, X-Men, Mission Impossible 2, Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace, and The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Additionally, it surpassed Batman Forever to secure the largest opening weekend for a Jim Carrey film and set a new record for Ron Howard's highest-grossing opening weekend, overtaking Ransom 1996. The film became the first non-Disney film to top the Thanksgiving weekend box office since Mrs. Doubtfire in 1993. It held the record for the highest opening weekend for a Christmas-themed film for 18 years, until the 2018 animated version of The Grinch surpassed it with $67.6 million. In its second weekend, the film grossed $52.1 million, dropping just 5.1%, setting a record for the highest-grossing second weekend for any film at that time, surpassing The Phantom Menace. It remained at the top of the box office for 4 weekends, until it was overtaken by What Women Want and Dude, Where's My Car, in mid-December. It continued to draw holiday crowds, outperforming another family film, The Emperor's New Groove. By then, it had surpassed Mission Impossible 2 to become the top-grossing film of the year. The film ended its theatrical run on March 1, 2001, with a final domestic gross of $260,044,825. Box Office Mojo estimates that the film sold over 48.1 million tickets in North America. Critical response. On Rotten Tomatoes, How the Grinch Stole Christmas holds an approval rating of 49% based on 144 reviews with an average rating of 5.6/10. The site's critical consensus reads, Jim Carrey shines as the Grinch. Unfortunately, it's not enough to save this movie. You'd be better off watching the TV cartoon. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 46 out of 100 based on 29 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on an A+ to F scale. Roger Ebert gave the film 2 out of 4 stars, describing it as a dank, eerie, weird movie about a sour creature, and noting that the production design lacked the festive brightness that the material required. Ebert remarked that Carrey works as hard as an actor has ever worked in a movie, to small avail, but noted that adults might appreciate Carrey's effort in an intellectual sort of way. Paul Clinton of CNN highlighted Carrey's dominance in the film, stating that Carrey was born to play this role, and adding that if he's not in the scene, there is no scene. Similarly, Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly commented on the Grinch's mischievously divided personality and praised how Carrey's performance transitions from chaotic to heartfelt, concluding that Carrey carries the movie by skillfully balancing his wild antics with a genuine emotional turn. Peter Stack of the San Francisco Chronicle said, "Nobody could play the Grinch better than Jim Carrey, whose rubbery antics and maniacal sense of mischief are so well suited to How the Grinch Stole Christmas." Dr. Seuss himself might have turned to Carrey as a model for the classic curmudgeon had the actor been around in 1957. However, he wondered why Carrey made himself sound like Sean Connery and warned that the character's intensity may frighten small children. James Berardinelli of Real Views wrote that Carrey's off-the-wall performance is reminiscent of what he accomplished in The Mask, except that here he never allows the special effects to upstage him. Carrey's Grinch is a combination of Seuss's creation and Carrey's personality, with a voice that sounds far more like a weird amalgamation of Sean Connery and Jim Backus, Bond meets Magoo, than it does Karloff. He concluded that Carrey brings animation to the live action and, surrounded by glittering, fantastical sets and computer-spun special effects, Carrey enables Ron Howard's version of the classic story to come across as more of a welcome endeavor than a pointless retread. Peter Stack of the San Francisco Chronicle praised Jim Carrey's portrayal, stating, "Nobody could play the Grinch better than Jim Carrey, whose rubbery antics and maniacal sense of mischief are so well suited to How the Grinch Stole Christmas." Dr. Seuss himself might have turned to Carrey as a model for the classic curmudgeon had the actor been around in 1957. However, Stack questioned why Carrey made himself sound like Sean Connery and warned that the Grinch's intensity might be too frightening for small children. James Berardinelli of Real Views wrote that Carrey's off-the-wall performance is reminiscent of what he accomplished in The Mask, except that here he never allows the special effects to upstage him. He noted that Carrey's version of the Grinch was a blend of Dr. Seuss's creation and Carrey's own personality, adding that Carrey's voice was a weird amalgamation of Sean Connery and Jim Backus, Bond meets Magoo, rather than an imitation of Boris Karloff, who had voiced the animated Grinch. Berardinelli concluded that Carrey brings animation to the live action, and that his performance helped make Ron Howard's adaptation feel more of a welcome endeavor than a pointless retread. Other reviews were more mixed. Stephanie Zacharek of Salon criticized the film, writing that Carrey pulls off an admirable impersonation of an animated figure. It's fine as mimicry goes, but mimicry isn't the best playground for comic genius. While acknowledging a few terrific ad-libs, she felt Carrey's jokes were nothing more than a desperate effort to inject some offbeat humor into an otherwise numbingly unhip, nonsensical, and just plain dull story. Todd McCarthy of Variety echoed some of these sentiments, noting that Carrey tries out all sorts of intonations, vocal pitches, and delivery styles in his performance, at times reminding viewers of James Cagney and Humphrey Bogart. However, McCarthy felt that while Carrey's antics hit the mark at times, they also seemed arbitrary and scattershot. He further commented that Carrey's free-flowing tirades, full of catch-all allusions and references, are pitched for adult appreciation and were likely to sail right over the heads of pre-teens. The Grinch Who Stole Christmas has a reason for growing up to be so bitter. As a child, he was picked on for being green and having hair all over his body and a beard. Show me the child who would not pick on such a classmate, and I will show you baby Jesus. But if Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas had only worked on that angle some more, had drummed up a little more sympathy for the Grinch, maybe we wouldn't want to pick on him too. This is a movie that devotes enormous resources to the mistaken belief that children and their parents want to see a dank, eerie, weird movie about a sour creature who lives on top of a mountain of garbage, scares children, is mean to his dog, and steals everyone's Christmas presents. Yes, there's a happy ending, and even a saintly little girl who believes the Grinch may not be all bad, but there's not much happiness before the ending, and the little girl is more of a plot device than a character. The Grinch is played by Jim Carrey, who works as hard as an actor has ever worked in a movie, to small avail. He leaps, he tumbles, he contorts, he sneers, he grimaces, he taunts, he flies through the air and tunnels through the garbage mountain, he gets stuck in chimneys and blown up in explosions, and all the time. Well, he's not Jim Carrey. After John Travolta and Robin Williams were paid many millions to appear inside unrecognizable makeup in Battlefield Earth and Bicentennial Man, respectively, did it occur to anyone that when audiences go to a movie with a big star, they buy their tickets in the hopes of being able to see that star? Carrey has hidden behind invented faces before, in The Mask, for example, but his Grinch, with his pig snout nose and Mr. Hyde hairdo, looks more like a perverse wolfman than the hero of a comedy. The movie uses gigantic sets, lots of special effects, and trick photography to create Whoville, which is inside a snowflake, and where all the Whos live in merry jollity, preparing for Christmas. The Grinch lives in a cave on the garbage mountain that towers over the town, brooding and gnashing and remembering old wounds and childhood hurts. Eventually, the happiness below is so unbearable to him that he descends on the town and steals all the Christmas presents, and only the touching faith of little Cindy Lou Who, Taylor Momsen, redeems him. But the general outlines of the story, expanded here, will be familiar from Dr. Seuss's book. What is strange is how the inspiration of his drawings has been expanded almost grotesquely into a world so unattractive and menacing. Red is the dominant color in the palette. Not Santa red, but a kind of grungy brownish red. So much of it we yearn to slake our eyes on green or blue. The film seems shot through a subtle filter that just slightly blurs everything, and the result is not cheerful. All of the characters, as I have mentioned, have noses that look like atrophied upturned pig snouts, which is nice if you like atrophied upturned pig snouts, but not if you don't. The balance is off. There should be more scenes establishing sympathy for the Grinch, fewer scenes establishing his meanness, more scenes to make the townspeople seem interesting, a jollier production design, and a brighter look overall. I am not a mind reader and cannot be sure, but I think a lot of children are going to look at this movie with perplexity and distaste. It's just not much fun. Adults may appreciate Carrey's remarkable performance in an intellectual sort of way and give him points for what was obviously a supreme effort, but the screenplay doesn't give the Grinch any help. Of course, I may be wrong. As the Grinch himself observes, one man's toxic sludge is another man's potpourri. Or vice versa, I'm afraid. Ever since I started blogging, I wanted to try out different review formats. This ranged from long to short reviews, first impressions, and even a manga review. While game reviews, and more importantly, indie game reviews, are probably going to stay in focus for me personally on Indicator, I'd like to try the occasional odd one here and there with a book, show, or, like in this case, a movie review. Today I wanted to talk about one of my favorite Christmas movies, Dr. Seuss' How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 2000. The movie is about the Grinch who lives just outside of Whoville on a remote trash mountain and who hates Christmas. While the Whos are full of anticipation for the upcoming Christmas holiday, the Grinch is out for revenge instead. Starring Jim Carrey, Taylor Momsen, and Jeffrey Tambor, among others, this is basically the Dr. Seuss book turned into a full movie. The rhymes and sentences from the children's book got adapted into the movie well, although slightly changed at times, while story elements, like Cindy Lou Who being turned into the main character, have been changed to make up for the short source material. All in all, I feel like it's a good adaptation, although it struggles here and there to make full use of the concepts and ideas it touches on. The narrator, Anthony Hopkins, initiates the story with the words, "Inside a snowflake, like the one on your sleeve, there happened a story you must see to believe." The Whos are a jolly kind of seemingly pig-snouted people that live in Whoville and are eager to celebrate their favorite holiday. Marching with a band and swarming into the stores, everything seems to brim with life and joy. The only one who questions the massive presents that people are buying is Cindy Lou Who, a young Who that not only likes Christmas, but also ends up asking the important questions. As time goes on, she begins to question whether the Grinch is truly mean and evil, and if there's more to the story. As we find out, the Grinch was raised like any other child, but always seemed different. Hating Christmas and having a beard at the age of 8. Being the target of bullying scarred him for life, which is why he now spends his time in solitude with his dog, Max, on a garbage mountain, dreading the upcoming 1000th jubilation. Jim Carrey is truly shining in his role as the Grinch. Bring the titular character to life. He's taunting and sneaking, sneering and snorting, dreading the day of Christmas, and really seems to be this mean-spirited mind that just seems to be there to ruin other people's days. All of this is directed well, and while I love his acting and the expressions that Carrey is able to pull off, I'm not entirely sure if it really was that important to focus more on his demeanor. Like, I get it. The Grinch is supposed to be this bad green guy living alone while everyone seems jolly and cheerful in the city. The contrast is established well and it works, but as time goes on, I would have loved to see some change. Instead, the movie focuses on the mean parts of the Grinch and his backstory whenever they show the Grinch. But the Grinch doesn't get all that much screen time to really add depth to the character. Most of the movie, after all, revolves around the Who's, and most importantly, Cindy. While she's adorable in her role and always curious about people's intentions and feelings, I just feel like the movie has not done enough with its characters. Cindy feels like more of a plot device than an actual figure in a story, let alone the main character. The Who's of Whoville, adults and children alike, are all dazzled and charmed by Christmas anticipation. They all just follow tradition and follow their leader, the antagonist of the story played by Jeffrey Tambor. Nothing seems to change, everything is the same, and it gets boring. The characters of the story shouldn't be as tolerant with the status quo. If I was a Who and if I was looking forward to the big day like that, I'd want to make it the best Christmas ever. I'd want to make it even better than before. The only character with intentions like that is Cindy, who joyfully nominates the Grinch as the cheermaster for the 1000th Whobilation. The audacity. I like it. While it's an interesting twist in the story, it seems as if Cindy is only there so that the story can move forward. Without Cindy, the Grinch wouldn't have come down over Christmas. Without Cindy's goodwill and intentions, the Grinch wouldn't have been driven to the point where he'd steal the Christmas presents. Without Cindy, the Who's in Whoville wouldn't have understood that Christmas isn't all about presents and spending money, but rather about spending this great holiday with the people you love and appreciate. Cindy's a great character, don't get me wrong, and Taylor Momsen did a great job bringing life to this pig-snorted girl. But there could have been more. There could have been a change in the people at an earlier time in the movie. When the Grinch finally arrives to get his award, the Who's are frightened by his appearance and his manners, but all of a sudden, they just flick the switch and they accept that he's just as much a Who as everyone else. Being a kids' movie, I understand that the gags and gimmicks, the jokes and little sketches, and all of that are important to fill out air. But I feel like the movie could have had so much more than just that. There could have been more change, more on the topics of what is Christmas about and what makes a good Who, but instead, it just falls flat. Adults will enjoy the occasional innuendo or dark joke here and there that completely went over my head when I watched it ages ago. Christine Baranski, playing Martha May Whovier, really adds a different flavor to the movie. But personally speaking, while I love the movie and the characters, I would have wished for more. I would have liked it if they went more in depth with how the Grinch, the titular character, feels and changes, but they ended up merely touching on it instead, leaving much to desire for boring people like me. The plot itself works, though. It's a great movie. It made me chuckle plenty of times, and the occasional song here and there really made it all the move enjoyable. It's 20 years old at this point, and believe me or not, Ms. Maggie hasn't seen it until last Saturday, and she loved it to bits. I haven't really thought about how to write movie reviews before. I would have thought that it works the same as with game reviews, where you start at one point, start writing, look into your notes, and just end up finishing it up eventually. Movie reviews are different, as you need to be more aware of spoilers and what you can talk and cannot talk about. With Christmas movies, you basically know how it's going to turn out anyway, so that's a different story. But personally speaking, I'm not entirely sure if my thoughts on it are potentially too analytical, or if they maybe even go too far into the interpretation. After writing it up, I wanted to see if Peril has written about this movie in particular yet, but apparently there is no post on it available just yet. As far as other reviewers out there go, I don't really like the style of many others, and hence just didn't check on other bloggers, but I'm sure there will be plenty of critics out there just waiting to give me feedback on my first ever movie review. I'd appreciate that a ton. In hindsight, this post turned out quite well. It doesn't really feature any spoilers, and while it doesn't go too in-depth on the movie's score and the graphics and all of that, I feel like it's still a solid review. Maybe straying away from the visible and audible was a good choice after all, though, as I have no clue about componists and that kind of stuff. And yes, I criticized the story somewhat, and I referred to the Who's as pig-nosed characters. But I feel like you can criticize something and still like it. And the Who's do kind of look like they've got inverted pig snouts on their faces. I mean, they're adorable, but also kind of weird, which is great. Anyways, I hope you're having a great time. Stay safe and healthy, and regardless of what's going on and how 2020 has been, I wish you a few happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. Cheers. This post was originally written by Dan Dicer from Indicator. If you see this article anywhere else other than indicator.org, then this article has been scraped. Please let me know of this via email. Other than that, feel free to stop by my Twitch streams, if you wanna. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a weird-ass movie. To be fair, the wonderful world of Dr. Seuss is built on its weirdness, with bizarre locations, funny-looking characters, and nonsensical rhyming. It's what made his stories and art style so timeless in the decades they've inhabited elementary school libraries. But then along came Ron Howard. This sick son of a gun kicked the doors down at Universal Pictures, snorted a fat line of coke on the CEO's desk, then shouted to the heavens, "The Grinch is going to eat glass and commit domestic terrorism." Universal then proceeded to cut him a check for $125 million. At least, that's how I imagine it went down. So who is the Grinch? Why does he want to steal Christmas? How does one even steal a holiday? Do the Who's down in Whoville recognize Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior? To put it simply, Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas is the story of the titular Grinch, an outcast who lives outside the small town of Whoville. Every year the Who's down in Whoville put on an extravagant Christmas celebration, complete with feasts, singing, and loud musical instruments. Every year, it drives the Grinch crazy, so one year he concocts a plan to steal their decorations, presents, and everything related to the holiday while they sleep. Assisted by his trusty dog Max, and dressed as a discount Santa Claus, the Grinch successfully pulls off his holiday heist. When the Who's awaken, he expects to hear them cry out in sadness, but is surprised to still hear them singing. Shaken by the realization that Christmas is much more than decorations and gifts, the Grinch has a change of heart, returning the stolen goods and celebrating Christmas with the Who's for the first time. This was the original story created by Dr. Seuss in 1957, which was later adapted faithfully and wondrously into an animated television film with an iconic narration from the legendary Boris Karloff. This version of the story is so beloved and so perfect that it was hard to imagine how this story could be stretched into a feature-length film. Well, they did it, and there's a lot going on here. Let's start with the positives, with the biggest positive being Jim Carrey in his role as the titular green creature. Jim Carrey is one of those actors that has the potential to elevate a film beyond what was to be expected. He did this earlier this year with Sonic the Hedgehog, turning a by-the-numbers kids film into something I enjoyed more than I anticipated. Carrey does the same thing here, turning the sinisterly suave Grinch into a sassy, disgusting drama queen. His interpretation is loud, bombastic, and ever-quotable, as any image of Carrey is completely hidden under the impressive makeup and costume work. These elements are another positive, as the designs for the Who's and their little Whoville are creative and fairly faithful to the Seuss art style. Not to mention the soundtrack can be quite fun at times, with a fairly decent rendition of the classic, "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." Then there's the script. Holy hell, do they get away with a lot in this film. There's some swearing, some sexual innuendos, and even a scene of a full-on swingers party in full swing. These choices are so left field and jarring, but as an adult who liked this kind of stuff, it's made rewatches since getting older all the more enjoyable. Not to mention that some of the writing is genuinely funny, credited in hand by Carrey's zany deliveries and mannerisms. The fact that this version of the Grinch has become a meme-like avatar for aging millennials in the past few years doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Despite these positives, my God, does this film give me a headache at times. Ron Howard must not have come down from that coke high from his barge in at the Universal offices, because this film looks like it was shot by a madman. Jarring camera movements and Dutch angles that would make Battlefield Earth blush plague this film. It's very rare to see the camera sitting still for just a moment, as it's constantly moving about to keep up with the manic antics of the characters. And the noise. The noise. I get that this is the Who's thing, but it's so much energy and honestly puts me on the Grinch's side most of the time. Everyone is shouting, there's seldom a moment of calm or relax. The visuals, while creative, can be such an eyesore at times. The lights and the colors can be borderline seizure-inducing sometimes, as I felt like I was slipping into madness after staring at the screen for too long. I said I liked the makeup done for the Who's prior, but I can't deny there's something a bit unsettling about their look. Somehow Cindy Lou Who escapes looking like a dog-man hybrid, which makes me think they just look more hellish as they get older. Because this is an adaptation of kids' book that's only a few pages, there's a lot of padding in this script to make it hit that feature-length runtime. There's an unnecessary love subplot, a bizarre origin story, and just a bit too much filler that ends up being grating at times. When the film sticks to its roots, it works most of the time, but some of the extra story elements just feel unneeded. I grew up with both the original television film and this film, and while I enjoy moments from the 2000 adaptation, I'm more partial to the television film. It's short, concise, stylish, and timeless, while this film 100% feels like a product of its time. Even though the film has me feeling like I'm on a bad trip, How the Grinch Stole Christmas can still be a ton of fun. Maybe more so for older audiences. I respect some of the decisions made and realize that this is a film uniquely its own, and at least took some chances in building upon Seuss's original vision. Its message still rings true through the slapstick and dizzying visuals, and I can see why many consider it to be a holiday classic. As for the 2018 film The Grinch, I'd rather pretend it doesn't exist. It's a cocktail called The Grinch. It's tasty and it's green. It's made with sweet Midori. That gives it a pretty emerald sheen. It's the Grinch. Now that I proved to you I am the second coming of Dr. Seuss, I'd like to convince you I'm the second coming of Jerry Thomas, yeah right, with this festive Grinch cocktail. Made green by a healthy dose of delicious Midori, this cocktail contains a hint of honeydew, melon, and citrus in it. Hopefully this cocktail creates the story, How the Grinch Stole the Show at my Christmas party. For you, distributed by Universal Pictures. Release dates November 8, 2000, Los Angeles. November 17, 2000, United States. Running time 105 minutes. Country United States. Language English. Budget $123. Box office 45.89 cents. The Grinch Stole Christmas movie, and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it,